Hungarian Folk Tales. The Pink Pig. Once upon a time, in a tiny village, there lived an old woman who never had a child of her own. And she was once overheard saying that she would not really care if God gave her a puppy, just as long as she had a young one to raise. The years went by and the woman eventually gave birth to a baby. But it was actually a baby pig. And it was only then she remembered what she had said about God giving her a baby to raise. But what could she do? Now she had a pink pig, and it was her duty to raise it as best she could. The women of the village would gather in the day and gossip, and the pink pig would always sit with its mother and chuckle happily to itself. Let me tell you that the reason your little pink pig squeals so is that it wants to go to school with the other boys and girls in the village. Please don't mock me so, the mother of the pink pig said, who felt sadly ashamed to have such a child. But the rest of the women nagged her until she eventually sent the pink pig to school in the village. And there the pink pig continued to squeal for the teacher until she threw a book at the pink pig to silence it. The pink pig's nose moved from letter to letter until it eventually learned to read like the other children. One day the children all went off to pick strawberries and the pink pig wanted to join them, but its mother wouldn't let it go. But the neighbours nagged her until she eventually agreed. And as the other children all carried baskets, the pink pig wanted one too, and so its mother hung a little basket on its snout. The boy who lived next door was exactly the same age as the little pink pig, and his mother told him to take very good care of the pig that afternoon. Then the pink pig lagged behind the others on their way and it slipped out of its pigskin. And when it took it off, it was plain for all the world to see that the pink pig was the most beautiful little girl in the land. The pretty little girl quickly filled her basket and then slipped her pigskin back on and went to join the others. The boy next door saw all of this, but he did not say a word. All the children's parents began to worry about their offspring, and so they stood out on the road as they waited for them to come home. Look, the pink pig has brought strawberries too. Who could have filled its basket? The pink pig, the boy said, but he said nothing more of what he had seen. When the children grew up, the boys began to court the girls, and the boy next door went to see the pink pig. His father and mother watched forlornly and wondered what their son wanted from such an ugly beast. But the boy next door never gave up, and he only ever visited the pink pig. At last the time came to marry for the boy next door. Whom will you marry, son? Why, the pink pig, of course. Don't shame us, son. We are old and respected, so don't discredit us now. But his father could clearly see that the boy next door was determined to make the pink pig his bride for life. So he gathered his friends together and went to ask for the pig's hand in marriage. Sadly, my son will never get married if the pink pig refuses his request. The peculiar couple were engaged to be married for some time, and people gathered from far and near to witness their wedding, as it was not every day that a man married a pig. After the wedding feast, the young couple went up to the loft as was the custom. The boy next door had told his mother everything, and he had also told her to take good care and burn the pigskin when they threw it down. The band played when the young couple went up to the loft, and it played when they came down again. The pink pig had gone, and a beautiful girl appeared in its place. Everyone was bewildered by the beauty of the girl, who had once been a pink pig. And that is the end of the Pink Pig's curly tail. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Goat Soldiers. A long time ago, in a distant land, there lived a poor lad. His mother and father both died when he was young, and he was all alone. He was poor, he had no one, and so the poor lad became a shepherd. He was still tending sheep when it came time to become a soldier. So he went straight into the army from his flock of sheep. He served his 3 years, and when he returned, he was so poor that he didn't know what to do or where to look. He had nothing to his name and hardly any clothes. There was a farmer who owned a flock of 30 goats, who needed a goat herd, who could herd the goats during the day and milk them every morning, noon and night, and keep their stable clean and tidy. The young lad happened to be passing and took the job straight away and led the goats out to the nearby meadow. But the young lad was no ordinary goat herd. He was sharp and witty and had learned a couple of clever tricks during his time as a soldier. So he talked to the goats all of the time and ordered them around in a military fashion until they learned to understand his simple commands. He marched them up and down, and by the time he was finished, he could get them to parade around the meadow like a miniature army. One day, the lad saw a rich man in a carriage riding past the meadow, so he drove the herd of goats to the side of the road, where he waved, and the rich man stopped his carriage. The lad said, "The reason I stopped you, sir, is to show you what these goats have learnt to do since I have been their goat herd." rich man in the carriage was very impressed with their performance and asked, "Who owns these goat soldiers?" "Why, they belong to the local farmer." The rich man was so impressed that he purchased all 30 goats, but insisted that the young lad should go and work for him for a month. Then the rich man invited all of his rich friends to come and see for themselves. "I want to show you something very interesting, something you've never seen in your life before." A gentleman from a foreign land liked the performance so much that he begged to buy the herd of goats. And so the rich man sold them to him. The foreign gentleman reached into his pocket and paid the price, and the rich man gave all the money to the goat herd, who used the money to buy a plot of land, build a fine house, and buy himself some good clothes, and to live a proper life like other people did. And he lived happily ever after. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Foolish Man. Many, many years ago, in a land far, far away, there lived a man and his wife. And I'm sorry to tell you that the man was not very clever. In fact, the man was a fool. And every day his wife had to tell him what to do and how to do it. The man and his wife had a cow, and one day his wife said, "Why don't you take the cow to market to sell it?" So the man dressed her foolish husband in his best clothes, and he left for the market with the cow. It was a very hot summer's day, and a cloud of flies began to bother the cow and make it run back and forth all over the place. And as they were walking, they met a man with a pig. "Kind sir, wouldn't you prefer to swap your troublesome cow for this pig?" "Oh, but of course I would," he said, and they made the exchange. So now the foolish man had a pig, but the pig was harder to control than the cow had been, and the foolish man did not like it at all. And as they were walking, they met a man carrying a goose. "Kind sir, wouldn't you prefer to swap your troublesome pig for this goose?" "Oh, but of course I would." Well, the goose was no better. It made a terrible mess, its feathers stuck to the foolish man's clothes, and he soon grew tired of carrying it. As they walked, they passed a man by the side of the road who was selling sharpening stones, and the man said, "Kind sir, wouldn't you prefer to swap your troublesome goose for this sharpening stone?" "Oh, but of course I would." So the foolish man was now left with nothing more than a sharpening stone, and he turned around and set off back home. And as he walked, he passed a pond with ducks swimming on it. The foolish man thought he would like to take a duck home for his wife. So he threw the sharpening stone, it sank into the pond, and all the ducks flew away. Now what am I going to do? No cow, no pig, no goose, no sharpening stone, no nothing. So he took off all his clothes and waded into the pond to find the sharpening stone. He searched the pond but could not find it anywhere. And when he came out of the water, he discovered that someone had stolen all of his clothes. So the foolish man was forced to walk home naked. The foolish man was very hungry when he got home, and so he cut himself a slice of bread and went down into the cellar to have a drink of wine. So he put the bread on the step and looked around to see that the dog had made off with it. He then threw the wine tap at the dog, so all the wine spilled out of the barrel onto the floor. A goose sat in the corner hatching eggs, and the goose said, "Gaggle, gaggle, gaggle." "You're going to tell my wife?" "Gaggle, gaggle, gaggle, hiss, hiss." And the goose went on making a terrible din. So the foolish man grabbed the goose, wrung its neck, and threw it out into the yard. Then he poured a bag of flour into the wine and some feathers, rolled around in it, and sat on the eggs. His wife then came down into the cellar and said, "What on earth is going on here?" She looked around at the spilled wine, the flour and the feathers and saw something sitting on the eggs. "What kind of monster is this? You had better say something before I knock your head off. It's me, dear wife. Don't hurt me." "Where's the cow?" "I swapped it for a pig." "So where's the pig?" "I swapped it for a goose." "So where's the goose?" "I swapped it for a sharpening stone." "So where's the sharpening stone?" "I threw it into the pond. I wanted to hit a duck so I could bring it home to you." "And where are your clothes?" "Somebody stole them while I was looking for the sharpening stone." "Oh, you foolish man." And she pulled him off the eggs and gave him the beating of his life. The foolish man's wife never sent him anywhere again after that, and did everything herself because it was safer that way. And that is the end of my story. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Frog, the Mouse, and the Sausage. A long time ago, far, far away, there lived a little frog. And the frog met a mouse and a sausage. All three began to talk, and they decided to become best friends for life. The mouse did all the cleaning, the frog did all the shopping, and the sausage cooked all the food. And the three friends lived like this for a month and a day. The sausage cooked such delicious food that they were always left licking their lips. And no matter how much they ate, it was never enough because the food was so delicious. When the month was over, the sausage said, "We should really take turns, so who is going to cook the food instead of me?" "Why not the frog?" they said. So then they made the frog their cook. The frog frog tried this kind of dish, and that kind of dish, and that kind of dish, and this kind of dish, but he could never cook anything the others liked to eat. He carried on cooking for a couple of days, but then they asked him to stop. "You are a very bad cook, Frog," they told him. The frog felt very ashamed. "Well then, Croak, who will do the cooking now?" So the sausage said, "We'll make it the mouse's job." So the mouse became the cook. And it cooked for a couple of days, but it cooked so badly that it asked the sausage, "Why don't you cook instead of us?" "Yes, Croak, why don't you cook instead?" the frog asked. But the sausage could only say, "I had my turn of cooking, and if you don't want to cook, then we'll have to break this friendship up." But they begged and begged the sausage until it finally agreed to cook for a couple of days more. The frog thought it could learn to cook by watching the sausage. Well, when the soup was nearly done, the sausage pulled it aside. And when it thought nobody was looking, it jumped into the soup. Aha! Croak. Now I know why the soup tastes so good. Because the sausage always jumps into it first. Now I know how to cook. Then the frog offered to cook for them again. Now I will be the cook, Croak. I know how to cook. So the frog put a big pot of water on the stove and made a big fire to get it good and hot. And it cooked it and cooked it. When it thought that the contents of the pot had cooked enough, the frog didn't wait for it to cool, but hopped right into the boiling hot soup. Well, the water was so terribly hot that it made the poor frog's skin all slimy and wrinkled, and that is where toads come from. Then the frog had to stop cooking because the hot soup had scalded it so. The mouse and the sausage laughed at the foolish frog when it told them the story, and they decided not to be friends any longer. So they all went their separate ways, and they all lived happily ever after. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Poor Man's 9 Hens and 1 Cockerel. Once upon a time, there lived a poor man and his wife. And they had more children than there are holes in a sieve. The poor man only possessed 2 small oxen, and he went ploughing with them in the forest every day. He was ploughing there one day when he heard a kind of crying. A big brown bear was wrestling with a tiny rabbit. The poor man laughed heartily when he saw the peculiar sight, but this made the bear very angry indeed. "You'll see, poor man, I shall eat you up, oxen, plough, and all." This frightened the poor man, who said, "Oh, bear, please don't eat me up, for I have a great number of children, and if I don't plough this field, there won't be any wheat, and then what will the little children eat? Please wait until the end of the day, when my ploughing will be done, and you can come here and eat me up, oxen, plough, and all." "Very well," the bear said, and it walked off into the forest. So the poor man went on ploughing, but he felt so sad that he did not know what to do with his sorrow. And as he stood feeling sad, a fox appeared. "Hey, poor man, why are you so sad?" "How could I not be?" And he told the fox about his promise to the bear. "Oh, there's no need to be sad. What will you give me if I help you? Do you have chickens in your yard at home?" "As a matter of fact, we do. My wife keeps 9 hens and a cockerel." "Well, if you give them all to me, I shall tell you what to do. I'll happily give them to you, and you can come and collect them later today. Poor man, I shall return this evening and hide behind a big bush. And then, when the big brown bear comes, I will..." Do you think that will work? It will. Poor man, I have come to eat you up, oxen, plough, and all. Very well, eat me. What's that noise, poor man? I don't know. Hunters might be coming with guns to shoot you. Oh, hide me somewhere. I'm so frightened. Here's a sack. Hide in here. So the bear hopped into the sack without a second word, and the poor man tied the sack tight. Then the fox came out from behind the big bush. And he began to feel the sack. What's in the sack, poor man? Nothing but a big noggin of firewood. I don't believe it. But that's what's inside. Well, if it is a noggin as you say, chop it with your axe. So then the poor man hit the sack hard with his axe, and the big brown bear was killed in an instant. Well then, poor man, you promised to give me 9 hens and a cockerel, and I shall go to collect them later tonight. So the poor man went home, unharnessed his oxen, went into the house, ate his supper, and went to his bed for the night. All of a sudden, he heard a knocking on the door. Who's there? 'Tis I, the fox. I've come to collect my 9 hens and a cockerel. Very well. Wait until I get up and put my trousers on. But the poor man had no intention of dressing, and instead he said to his children, "Bark, children, bark." What was that? We forgot to lock our door before we went to bed, and all the dogs came in from the yard to sleep under our bed. Now they can smell a fox, and they want to eat you up. Oh, hold them, poor man, let me run away. Bark louder. You see, Fox, I have learned something from you after all, said the poor man, and he turned to the wall and fell fast asleep. And he and his wife and all their children lived happily ever after. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Rich Man's 3 Sons. Once upon a time, there lived a rich man. One day, one of the rich man's farms burned to the ground and nothing was left but a pile of smoking embers. The rich man had made his fortune as a moneylender, and one of his unhappy borrowers had burned his home down. The rich man felt terribly sad, and not even the priest could comfort him, as he was sure the man would eventually go to hell because of the cruel way he had made money all his life. That may well be true, the rich man thought. But if someone should burn down my other farm, how will my 3 sons survive? The rich man thought and thought about this until he decided to find all 3 a job. He made the eldest son a soldier because he was very bright. He made the middle son a blacksmith's apprentice. And then he spoke to the youngest of his 3 sons and said, "I think you will make a fine barber, son of mine." The youngest son had no objections, and all 3 agreed to do their father's bidding, as anything was better than working the land. The eldest liked the idea of marching around with a silver sword by his side, while the other 2 were happy that they would not have to hoe or mow now that they had proper trades. The years passed by, and the rich man became old, although he had never been a young man, and he spent all his time thinking how he could one day avoid hell's fiery furnace that had been promised to him by the priest. But the rich man's 3 sons did not have a care in the world. His son the soldier danced his days away, while his son the blacksmith and the barber spent all their days making merry. Then the day came when the sons received a letter saying that they should all 3 return home at once because their father's days were numbered, and he wanted to see his sons. So all 3 sons journeyed home and thought they would soon inherit a fortune from their rich father. When they arrived, the rich man asked his son the soldier, "Well, my son, what manner of soldier have you become?" "Well, my father, the emperor has no finer soldier than I, and I wield a silver sword like no other. The other day, it began to rain while we were on parade, and all the other soldiers got wet, but not I, because I drew my sword and span it around so swiftly above my head that I remained dry." The rich man nodded. "I'm glad, my son, that you have become such a fine soldier, and I have no need to worry about your fortune." Then he asked the middle son, "And you, my son, how do you fare as a blacksmith?" "Well, my father, there's no finer blacksmith in this land, or any other beyond its borders. Only yesterday, a coach passed by the smithy, drawn by 4 grey horses. The lord driving the coach said that all 4 horses needed reshoeing, but he had no time to stop. My master stood and scratched his head, but while he stood there, I swiftly shoed all 4 horses, and the coach did not have to stop for a single second." The rich man also noted his middle son's words. "You are indeed a master of your trade, my son, and I have no need to worry about your fortune. And you, my youngest son, are you also a master of your trade? You ask me if I'm a master barber, father? Well, nothing proves it better than the fact that I shaved a rabbit clean while it was running yesterday, and I did not cut its soft skin once." The rich man also noted his youngest son's words, and then spoke to all 3. "I see, my sons, that you all have the skill to make your own fortunes, and you have no need of mine. and so now I can use all of my money to pay myself out of hell's fiery furnace. Then the rich man called the priest, gave him all his money, and told him to give it to the poor. So the rich man's 3 sons were given nothing for their pains and ran away, never to return.